All right, we're going to take a look at the Jacksonville Jaguars 2025 depth chart. And then I'm going to give you 5 good reasons to be optimistic and 5 questions that you might have. We'll do it today here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That's right. It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. A quick reminder that we're free to subscribe to wherever you get your podcast, whether you watch or listen. Make sure you tap into those locations each and every day so you do not miss an episode of the show. A show that today will consist of the following. By the way, I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the show. Thank you for joining me. Here's what we're going to do. In honor of today, which is Cinco de Mayo, we are going to name 5 things, 5 being Cinco, things that we consider strengths. And in the third segment, we're going to talk about 5 big questions. That's segment 2 and 3. But today, right now here at the top, we're going to look at the 2025 too early depth chart. Y'all might say it's not too early because, heck, man, we know who most of the players are primarily. So, Wig, it can't be too early. The bottom line is we know who's going to start based on some things. And I would say that we don't really know. And I say that because this roster so far has been built on a lot of versatility. And I also wouldn't rule out the fact that there are people on this roster. Normally, you can take the guys that make the most money and say that they're starters. I can't say that definitively. I do not know that that is actually going to be the case because you got a new staff with a bunch of new players, a bunch of new pieces, a new scheme. So I don't know if some guys who make a lot of money are going to necessarily be in the positions that, people who make most of the money are here with this football team. I don't. Case in point, Gabe Davis. I think Eric Armstead is okay. I think he'll have a big role, but Gabe Davis, Darnell Savage, there are people that make a lot of money and you do not know if they're going to start or not. You don't. That's just what it is. Ezra Cleveland. I don't know he's going to start. Travis Etienne. I don't know that he's going to start. You see, I think we have to get used to a new way of doing business when you get winners or people that are, believe that they're winners. We are so used to seeing them throw stuff against the wall to see what sticks, and so used to just subscribing to the normal formula that teams subscribe to and say, okay, well, he makes the most money. We're expecting a lot out of him. He's going to start. Imagine not paying attention to what's actually going on the team. If you did that, Gabe Davis would be your wide receiver 1 and Brian Thomas Jr. would be probably your wide receiver 2. What was that make Travis Hunter? Wide receiver 3, you can't do that. They drafted these running backs for a reason too. I think they needed more versatility in that room. Tank Bigsby is sort of a speed power guy, and Etienne is kind of an airback. So you say, well, that's versatile. They got a little bit of everything. That ain't what I'm talking about. I think they're building it so that each individual player is versatile in and of itself. Like there's nothing you can't do. And I think that's one of the mantras, if you will, of this football team. Let's run through the depth chart. The Jaguars, obviously, I did it last week. I'm going to use our lads like somebody suggested because I told them I was very familiar with it, but I didn't want to use it. But I'll use it as a reference point because it's something that people want to know. People want to talk about it. So that's what we're going to do here today with the rest of this first segment. Maybe bleed it into segment 2 a little bit, and then we'll get into 5 strengths and 5 questions. Offensively, that's the easy part. Let me go to defense. Everybody always wants to start with the part that, where guys make all of these plays, all right, and score touchdowns. Let's go with the defense. It's pretty obvious on the edges. You'll have Trayvon Walker and Joshua Hines-Allen, Miles Cole, and Emmanuel Ogbah. Ogbah is edge 3. Miles Cole, a kid that they picked last year that they like, he'll probably have a shot to compete with guys like Yasir Abdullah, BJ Green, and a few more players. I think Jalen McLeod is going to be primarily a pass rusher too, and probably a special teams player. But in the middle, Devon Hamilton and Mason Smith, we're going to get back to that. You see, even on this one, Eric Armstead isn't starting, and he makes more money. So that's why I said, but he's going to play a lot. And then you got Tyler Lacey, okay? Those three guys are why I said that it did not make sense for the Jaguars to take Mason Graham, and now we're hearing through people that I consider pretty decent sources that they had no intention of drafting Mason Graham whatsoever, and he was tied to them. And that probably worked in the Jaguars' advantage because it didn't make people focus a whole bunch on what the Jaguars were really intending to do, and that is moving up for Travis Hunter. Let's move to the linebackers. I think this is the easy one. The linebackers is we're going 4-2-5. So I think it'll obviously be Foye Oluwakan. He's the leader. I think Devin Lloyd gets the first shot, and then you got Chad Muma and Ventrell Miller. After that, it'll be Jack McLeod. Jack McLeod. Jalen McLeod, maybe playing a little bit of they got him here on this depth chart as a Mike. He's not a Mike to me. If anything, he's a Sam linebacker who that's not really, as James Gladstone says, his superpower. He's a Sam linebacker that could double up as a situational pass rusher. It's going to be interesting between what they do with him and Abdullah. McLeod is a rookie. He's active, 6'1", 234. Abdullah is 6'1", 250. So it's going to be a very interesting. Abdullah may be a little bit taller than 6'1". He might be 6'1 and a half, 6'2". Let's hit the secondary real quick. Jaron Jones, they have him at left corner outside. Eric Murray at strong safety. Darnell Savage at free safety. Jordan Lewis at nickel. Tyson Campbell at right corner. I agree with this one. I saw one earlier that had Jordan Lewis as a backup cornerback to Tyson Campbell, and that ain't going to happen. Jordan Lewis will probably start outside, though. My friend Pete Prisco hit me up with that a few weeks back and said Lewis probably starts outside if they're in a base defense without being in nickel. And then on passing downs, when they're in nickel, he'll go inside, and then when they bring in Jaron Jones as the third corner, he'll actually be the outside corner. So that's a possibility that they do that. And then there's something else to factor into this thing. Travis Hunter. Yeah, him. Travis Hunter. At what point is he comfortable enough to come out? Like if the Jaguars don't win the toss, you're not going to start the game with Travis Hunter on the sideline. If they do win the toss, he obviously plays on offense. And then I wonder if they score, will he immediately come in and play defense? It'll probably be something that they use people to measure, like how much gas did he use on that previous drive? How long was the drive or whatever, what the situation is or what the matchups are. I think he starts whether they win the toss or lose it, whether they get the ball or not get the ball. If he starts on defense, I think you're rolling right back out there on offense. If he starts on offense, I think you're rolling back out there on defense too. So we have to factor that in. Then you got young guys like Caleb Ransaw. Everybody already wants to put Caleb in the starting lineup, and he very well could be. Monterey Brown is still hanging around. Buster Brown's still there. Christian Braswell still working real hard. But for the most part, that's what it is. They did get Jabbar Muhammad in here, and he's a free agent, did not get drafted, but I do think he has a real good chance to make the team. And then they're missing somebody. Oh, DeAndre Prince. There it is. I see it. DeAndre Prince is going to be fighting for his life here. Daniel Thomas, guys like that, they're going to be fighting for their life because I think that they have been drafted. Antonio Johnson's probably going to have a little bit of a battle as well because I like the little rookie that they got out of Navy. He's a really good special teams player, and I think he's going to be on the team. So, yeah. So we did the hard part. We're going to get to the offense. The offense, man. I'm telling you, this is the part that everybody wants to see. Everybody's wondering, what are the Jaguars going to do offensively? And this is all, I saved it for last because, and here you go, here's some more of the draft picks. But Rayon Lane is the dude that I'm talking about. That's who I was referring to earlier. Rayon Lane from Navy, very good special teams players, really active. Only thing he does, I watched some extended film in the middle of the night because I couldn't sleep the last few days. The only thing he does, I like guys that tackle and they bump and they thump. He's a bit of a grabby guy, like an arm tackling dude, but he gets there in a hurry. He definitely gets there in a hurry. We're going to do the offense, and then we'll give you the 5 questions. We'll talk about the 5 strengths and then the 5 big questions in segment number 3. We'll do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Finding the right talent is super important. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with freelance experts who deliver incredible results. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork, Upwork.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. All right, moving along here on Monday's show here. Happy Cinco de Mayo to you guys. I'm Tony Wiggins with Locked On Jaguars. Going over the depth chart, we did the defense. Now we are going to look at the unofficial, way too early depth chart. First of all, y'all know who the kickers are. I'm not going to tell you who the kickers and long snappers are. You know that. But Parker Washington is listed here as the punt returner and the kick returner. How about that? All right. So let's get to the offense. Let's start in the trenches first. Left tackle, right tackle is Anton Harrison, Ezra Cleveland. We know that. Not Ezra Cleveland, Walker Little. We know that. Anton Harrison, Walker Little. Left guard, Ezra Cleveland. Right guard, Pat McCarry. And center, Robert Hainsey. Now, I thought I saw somewhere where that McCarry's played every position on the offensive line. That's the versatility that you have to watch out for and figure out. But there's going to be a lot of competition. And we're going to talk about this. I'm going to use them in my 5 questions. So we ain't going to overshoot the runway here without naming the rest of these dudes. Those second 5, Fred Johnson, Chuma Edoga, Luke Fortner, Wyatt Milliam at right guard, Cole Van Lannon at right tackle. I don't think that's the way that's going to go. If anything, I would swap Chuma Edoga and Wyatt Milliam. I put Wyatt Milliam at left guard. Of course, the center is Robert Hainsey, and he's backed up by Luke Fortner, and then Jonah Monheim. I think Monheim and Fortner are going to battle it out. I think they're going to battle it out. Because remember, McCarry can play center. I think Edoga may have played a little bit of center before. I'm not sure, but I know he's played guard and tackle. Yeah, with McCarry being your backup or your third emergency center, that means you can actually make a pick. You don't have to choose Luke Fortner just because he's more experienced. You don't have to choose Luke Fortner because he has a history with the coach. If he ain't the man, don't let him be the man. Competition is the key to all of this thing rising up. And that's the only way you're going to get it to be where you want it to be. So, yeah, now we get to the skill position players. Trevor Lawrence, of course. They did list Travis Etienne first, Tank Bigsby, then Bayshaw Tootin with Keelan Robinson and LaQuint Allen. We'll discuss that when we start talking about those position groups of strengths. Tight end, Brenton Strange, of course. Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, De'Ami Brown. Those are your 3-headed monsters at receiver, backed up by Joshua Cephas, who I think has a chance to make this team as a 6th receiver, Parker Washington, and Gabe Davis. I like it. I like it so far. I like the depth chart. I like the prospects of the depth chart. Got a few differences with it, but that's to be expected, guys. We just see things a little bit differently. But I wouldn't be surprised if there were more additions, if something happened before the season started on the veteran market, if they got around the team and they got in the training camp and they saw they needed to do something, they definitely have the ammunition to go and get that done. Let's get into my Cinco de Mayo or my Cinco de Mayo tribute, my 5 strengths of the team. I'll tell you what they are right now. I think speed on the perimeter is a really, really good boost on offense. They got playmakers, man. They got dudes now, and Brian Thomas Jr. showed the way last year, and you know what Travis Hunter can do. And De'Ami Brown, the way he came on last year, the way he came on last year at the end of the year and towards the playoffs, they got speed to burn, man. And when you have that kind of speed and you have the dudes, they can do it different ways. All of them run exceptional route trees. They all can get deep. They all really, especially BTJ and Travis Hunter, they all really have a navigation system when it comes to adjusting to the ball and using their hands and contorting their body to make those catches. They can get deep. They can run intermediate. They go slants. Here's the thing. They can go jet sweep. They can go kick out. They can go wide receiver screen. They can go quick out. They can do whatever. You get the ball in their hands and they turn into electrifying punt returners who are game changers. And the more of them you have, the more it creates spacing. And the more it creates those one-on-one matchups. And now they have two guys that I believe are going to light this thing up, and maybe even three guys. And it's going to help the tight ends. It's going to open a lot of things up for Trevor Lawrence. This is why I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a big, big year. All right, I talked about speed on the perimeter. I touched on the big play. That's two. They're going to be able to score easy. It's not going to be all difficult to score points these days like it used to be in the past. Like everything was pulling teeth, man, before. Now I think they're going to have some games where they get some layups. And because they get those layups, it's going to really, really help with the overall game plan. All right, edge. Edge is the third thing I think is their strength, especially with them adding Emmanuel Ogbah. I really believe now with the scheme, without those hockey substitutions, that Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen are both going to go absolutely ballistic this year. Versatility. The versatility along is number 4. The versatility along the offensive line, the versatility in the secondary that I'll mention in just a second. And we just talked about it earlier. When you have guys like Abdullah and McLeod that can do a little bit of different things. And then when you have Devin Lloyd and how they're going to try to weaponize him and use him some. But then in the secondary, with Travis Hunter being who he is, you have a lot of versatility in that secondary and guys that can move around. Ain't no if you ain't playing well or you're having a bad day, you're going to have a bad day, you're going to get on that bench because there's going to be somebody else out there who can really, really help. And finally, my fifth thing on Cinco de Mayo here is active DNA in the secondary. And what I mean is everybody in that secondary, the ones that they retained and the ones that they drafted or signed in free agency. If you notice something about them is they all play very, very fast. They play like they're guys that you have to kick out of the building, from Jordan Lewis to Eric Murray. I'm telling you, man, these dudes look, and then when you look at the dudes that they drafted, it's almost as if they knew exactly the type of guys that they wanted, right? With Rayon Lane and, of course, as one of them, and Caleb Ransaw, who was the second player the Jaguars picked this year. They knew the kind of guys they wanted on that back end, man, and they went and got a whole bunch of them. And you add Jarian Jones, who's the same way. Tyson can kind of be that way, but he's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those junkyard dog type backs that are always going to find their way to get in somebody's business. And I think that those are the things that the Jaguars have really, really addressed real well. So those are the 5 things that I think are strengths. I'm going to give you 5 big questions from the Jaguars, and then we'll close this thing out in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, third final segment here on Locked On Jaguars, where it is your team every day. We took a quick peek at the unofficial depth chart using our labs. We also talked about 5 things that we consider strengths. And now, 5 big questions. In-game coaching and decision-making. We ain't ever really seen Liam Cohen as a head coach. We've never seen him as a head coach. We don't know how. I think I got a pretty good idea that he's going to be all right. I like the transparency, though, when he said people talk about special teams. I got to pay attention to that. I ain't used to that. He said that, and we smiled. He said, I heard people always say, but that is a real, real big deal. And that's why I'm glad Coach Heath is still here, because Heath Farwell, because he is a very good special teams coach. And he's also the type person that when you hear him talk, you want him in your building. But sitting here and being optimistic about Liam Cohen as a head coach is one thing. Being honest about having a gut feeling, but not necessarily really knowing. Well, I want to wait and see. I know, I believe, and I'm optimistic, and I think because of the way the staff with Coach Udinski and all of these different pieces, man, all of these parts, all of the experience, all of the alignment, all of that's important, but you still got to do it. So it's still a question. You got to question whether or not if you've never seen Liam Cohen operate as a head coach, and it's not just about play calling. I keep telling people that it's about everything that goes on and why your why about every single thing that you do every day. We got to just see it. I got a gut feeling about it, but I can't sit here and testify under oath that I know for a fact. That's what they do on social media. Oh, I know for a fact it's going to. And no, you don't if you've never seen it. O-line, big question. Even though I think they've gotten better, they added 6 offensive linemen who I believe are all going to make the top 10 if they keep 10 offensive linemen. They fixed that thing in one off season. I have been trying to tell people this is how you do it. You throw everything you have at that offensive line, man. You don't play around with that. You throw all of your resources into building that lineup. And I think the Jaguars have done a super, super job of doing that, knowing that you have to be really, really measured in your approach with that, because you got a dude you just gave an extension. You got another guy that was the first round pick just from a couple of years ago. So yeah, there's some things that you really have to make sure that you get right. This is why Robert Hainsey was so important too, because Liam knows him. He's comfortable with him. Just because he got demoted last year doesn't mean he can't play. And I keep trying to tell people that too, but nobody will listen. It's just maybe that dude down there is better. Maybe Graham Barton is just that good, and they knew that they weren't going to be able to pay him, and they had to onboard him and got him and let him learn. But Robert Hainsey is a pretty solid piece, and he's not something that I'm necessarily worried about. I'm worried about the young guys who still have something to prove. The interior of the defensive line is a little bit of a question for me, but it's more schematic than anything else. I think Jordan Jefferson, I keep calling that boy Jordan Jefferson, second-year player out of LSU, and Mason Smith. I think with some different coaching, you're going to be able to reach those guys. You're going to get more impact from them. Offensive line, defensive line, in-game, the little things. The little things is number 4 for me. And those little things are the growing pains of having a brand new staff, and then the growing pains of having a brand new staff that's all doing it for the first time. Make no mistake about it. All these coaches know each other around the league, and they all respect each other. But I guarantee you, those some old grizzled dudes over there that's going to try to show these young whippersnappers what the deal is. They think they're going to be able to outcoach them, or maybe put them in situations that they haven't seen as head coaches in the current positions that they have. First-time defensive coordinator on the NFL level too, in Anthony Campanile. So there's a lot that they ain't going to have the gun. The rabbit ain't going to have the gun until he takes it, right? So right now, people are going to be like focusing on trying to put those dudes in a blender a little bit. I don't think it's going to work. I think they're smart enough, and the age ain't nothing but a number when it comes to coaching, as long as you've been doing it for a while. All right, buy-in from the vets. What do I mean by buy-in from the vets? If we talked about that earlier a little bit, if you got vets making a lot of money and they're not playing as much, they feel like it hurts their brand, it hurts their ability to get another contract somewhere else. Eventually, they might be rightfully disgruntled, but not. You can be disgruntled, but not think that you're being treated unfairly. You could just wake up and realize it's not the best situation for you. The Jaguars might absolutely agree with you that you make too much money for them to be having you on the roster and not using you, but they ain't going to use you. They're going to keep you here for insurance purposes. They can't trade you if you're Gabe Davis or Eric Armstead or whoever else has money, that they're being paid a lot. What if they come in here and Tyson Campbell struggles a little bit, even though I think they probably like him, and he does have all the physical requirements, and he does get after it. He's just always banged up. So what if Travis Hunter comes in and says, "No, you put me over here, you put Jordan Lewis over there, and then you stick Jarian in that slot"? Could they move Tyson Campbell and get them some And I'm not suggesting that this is what they are thinking, but I'm just saying, could they possibly move Tyson Campbell if he's not starting and he's just a depth piece? That might be something that they can do. We have to look and see what it'll do to the salary cap. But you get a pretty good price for a young 26, 27-year-old corner who has played a lot of games like that. So that's my take on it. Though my five biggest strengths: the speed on the perimeter, big play, edge, active DNA in their secondary, how they're built, and basically the versatility of the entire roster, offensive linemen being able to move around and switch different spots so they won't get caught, with the pants down if somebody hurts themselves or gets a high ankle sprain or something. And then the five biggest questions: the O-line, mainly offensive tackles, the D-line, the interior, in-game decisions, coaching, first time, everybody's doing everything, the little things that have to be done during the week by a staff that maybe you overlook because, you just never had to do it before. And then the buy-in from the veterans, mainly the dudes that make a lot of money that might find themselves kind of on the outside looking in. So a lot of things to get to, a lot of variables to discuss when it comes to the team, and some of the things that could make them either have a really, really good year or maybe hold them back just a little bit. I want to thank you for making Locked On Jaguars your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Scouting. The NFL draft is over, but the roster moves and news never stops. Hosts Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And I am Tony Wiggins, and I thank you for listening to the Locked On Jaguars podcast today. We appreciate you spending these 27 minutes with us today. Whew, the draft is over, man, but there's so much to get to. Minicamp starts later on this week. We'll be there later on this week, and we'll be there with bells and whistles on to give you all of the news and everything that we see. I get to see Travis Hunter. Might be in shells, but I still get to see Travis Hunter perform in person. All right, we'll see you next time here on Locked On NFL. Thank you for making us your first listen.